there's an alternative. You can see this. This is vegan living as ahimsa. Ahimsa is an ancient Sanskrit word that means non-harmfulness. Basically living our lives as best we can to minimize the amount of harm we're causing to other expressions of life. And when we make that the foundation of our life, we're creating a foundation of joy and happiness and freedom and creativity and abundance for ourselves and for everyone. And we can all do it. We can all say, I'm doing my best to be part of the solution here rather than being part of the problem. To do the best I can to be a force for harmlessness, for not harming others, other expressions of life. And when we do that, we find that we become much healthier on all 5 levels. The earth becomes healthier, our society becomes healthier, our physical health becomes much healthier, our mind and our spirit, our ethics, everything becomes much healthier, more clean, more strong. Abundance, you can see this. Vegan living, ahimsa, or harmfulness, that LOW, that's local, organic, whole food, plant-based. So this is really the thing, a plant-based way of eating without imprisoning animals, a whole food is very important because as soon as we start using factories and making food and start using machines and start using preservatives and colorings and all this stuff, so just move back to eating vegetables and grains and fruits and nuts and seeds and beans in their natural state. This is a wonderful foundation. In organic, I don't have to talk about organic is essential because as soon as we're using pesticides, herbicides, and fungicides and other chemical fertilizers, we're killing bees and birds, we're destroying fish habitat. So a vegan way of living is based on caring and love and kindness and respect for all expressions of life. And when we have our way of eating and our way of living as best we can on that foundation, then for the few years we're on this earth, we're doing the best we can to be part of the solution. And I would say, besides those things, you could go a little farther. We have a little bit of a joke, but what we're saying is an organic, whole food, plant-based, vegan, fair trade, non-GMO, glyphosate-free, mindfully prepared with non-toxic cookware with love way of eating. That kind of says the whole thing. And we can all... we have to look at all those aspects and do the best we can to try to fulfill that in our daily life. And it's beautiful. It actually gets better and better. The food gets more delicious. Our bodies get more healthy. The earth, the aquifers, the planet, everything gets healthier. To understand this, to bring our lives into alignment with this, and then to share this with other people as best we can, creatively, with love and respect. There's no one to blame, really. Everyone's wounded by this. We're all wounded. When I was raised we knew of super rich people, and they're not happy. They're committing suicide. They have totally perverse kind of livelihoods, many of them. So the whole idea is to heal the wounds and to awaken out of this. And so in my own life, this kind of little thing kind of shows. Nobody wants to acknowledge the cow in the room. Diabetes rates have doubled. There are dead zones in the ocean. I'm worried about the next pandemic. The rainforests are disappearing. Why is our society so violent? Global warming is unstoppable. My doctor says I need angioplasty. 800 million people are starving. California's running out of water. Animal agriculture is the cow in the room. One single industry causing so much devastation. And we have to understand that this permeates into every dimension physically and non-physically of our lives, our shared lives together. So from now on, there'll be every few minutes, or every minute or so, paintings by my wonderful spouse, Madeleine, of animals, so you can, if you like, enjoy looking at the art. But I just want to say a couple of final points here that I think are essential. Like in my own journey, I kind of left off there at the farm in Tennessee. After that, so I became a vegetarian at the farm, and I discovered actually many years later, it was so interesting, that was toward the end of 1975. I found out years later when I met Madeleine that this young Swiss artist in Switzerland, that she also the same exact month and year also decided to never eat meat in her life too in Switzerland. And then a few years later, finally we met each other. But in 1980, I was in San Francisco at that point, and I learned a little bit more about the routine abuse of cows and hens. So I became a vegan in 1980. And then a few years after that, I decided to become a Zen Buddhist monk. So I shaved my head. I was living in South Korea in a monastery called Songwangsa. And I realized, actually, that for the second time in my life, I was in a vegan community. It was kind of similar. They never talked about it being vegan because it was totally silent. We didn't talk about anything. But I was there meditating. But it was so neat. There was no meat, there was no dairy, there was no eggs, no wool, no silk, no leather, no fur, no killing mosquitoes or insects. The whole thing was based on ahimsa. The whole community, and they've been living a vegan lifestyle for about 800 years, since the 1200s or something. And so I realized that what we call veganism is not this new hippie thing from California. This is actually an ancient wisdom tradition that goes back hundreds of years, probably thousands of years. People have understood that if we are really serious about spiritual awakening, about intellectual illumination, about cultural health and harmony, about emotional stability, we can't be eating animal foods. I mean, it's the opposite. It destroys our emotional stability and happiness. It destroys our intellect. It destroys our spirituality, our societies. We become perversions, really. Eating animal foods, I mean, it's obvious. It becomes really obvious. There's a great saying by Krishnamurti. He said, "It's not a good idea to be well-adjusted to a profoundly sick society." And I think we have to really understand that. It's not a good idea to be well-adjusted to a profoundly sick society. And yet when we leave here, we go out into the world, we see people are eating huge amounts of meat, dairy products, and eggs. And so as people living in society, the natural tendency we all have is we want to get along, we want to eat the same food they're eating, because food is the primary way that we relate to each other. It's through food. This is the main way that we socialize. So if we go to dinner, Thanksgiving, weddings, church, whatever it is, work, we're eating the same food. So it's very tribal. So as soon as we start questioning the food in our society, it's like we start to live in a different tribe. And people don't like us anymore. If I say I'm a vegan, a lot of people say, "Well, I don't like you because you're a vegan. You're not part of my tribe." So it's very scary for us to even question animal agriculture. And also it's the food that we were given by our own parents, right? And so you have to understand that not just cross-culturally, but across all species, the number one most primary teaching across all species is eat this. I remember watching some ducks in Switzerland on a lake, and the mother and all her little babies, and she was teaching them, eat this, don't eat this, and this is what you do. And so for us, when we're taught to eat a certain food by our parents, it's very difficult at a very deep level to question that. So on some level, I think it's a miracle that anyone actually goes vegan, because we have to question our society, our parents, we have to question the doctors, we have to question everything. And yet our spirit, our wisdom can do it. And so the thing that's really important, I think, is to create communities of sanity. See, the thing is, we're born into a community of insanity. Animal agriculture is insane. Like I said, it's demonic. It's based on the most hideous violence toward the most vulnerable beings. And not just causing the violence, but eating it and feeding it to our children. It's actually, I won't go into it. It's really... It's so destructive to us on every level. And so to understand that what we can do, and once we understand this, is the greatest gift, really, in terms of being effective, I think, as advocates, to help have the revolution that everybody's talking about, a benevolent revolution, is to create alternative communities. Create communities based on kindness and respect, and on wisdom and sustainability and freedom and liberation and abundance. So that means creating plant-based communities, essentially organic plant-based communities. However we can do that. They can be like right now, we have here for 10 days, or whatever it is, here at this hotel, we have this type of community based on wisdom. We can talk about these ideas. We can eat food based on this. We can share our understandings with each other, and then this will radiate and ripple out into the web of relations in our society. We can create vegan restaurants. We can create vegan cooking classes and sanctuaries and many different types of communities and online groups and vegan festivals, veg fests, all these different things. Vegan, organic, raising awareness about the impact of our way of living on each other. And I think once we understand that each one of us has unique gifts and capacities that we can contribute to this, that we have, maybe we're really good in music or art or writing or communication or organizing, whatever it is, this is the most important thing.